one point I was getting over 200 messages every single day. I was at work one day and suddenly my phone was just going bonkers with thousands of new followers, and the response was incredible, and it's still kind of surreal that it all happened. I've seen things that I think, how on earth have I got to be here and do this?
Welcome to What If It All Works Out. My name is Sophie Callahan, and I started this podcast because I wanted to empower women to show up confidently and consistently online as themselves by sharing stories and examples of what things look like when they all work out. My career began in photography, and I am now a marketing and mindset coach for female entrepreneurs and the mum to 2 little girls. I teach you everything that I learned over 10 years in my business about content marketing and building the life of my dreams so that you can do the same. My guests here have inspiring stories to tell, knowledge for us to learn from, and really valuable experiences to share with us. So grab a cup of tea and get ready for conversations that will change your mindset, your business, and the way you show up in your life. Louenna Hood, or Nanny Louenna as she's better known online, has built an incredible business as a childcare expert. A qualified Norland Nanny, she has cared for over 100 children over the past 2 decades, including working for high-profile and royal families. 3 years ago, Louenna recognised there was a gap in the market for an accessible, informative resource to help parents through the ups and downs of parenthood. She created a multi-award winning app and quickly became known as the nanny in your pocket, used by celebrity mums and thousands of families around the world. In March 2022, Louenna launched a small appeal to help Ukrainian refugee families by sending a few boxes of essentials out to Poland. The campaign quickly snowballed, and she raised a staggering £190,000. As a result, Louenna was presented with a Point of Light Award by the Prime Minister and a British Empire Medal in King Charles's 2023 New Year's Honours. We talk all about how this initiative evolved in this episode. I enjoyed our conversation so much. Louenna is such an expert at what she does, and she is so passionate. When I asked her to be a guest on the podcast, I really wanted to show the good that social media could do, as well as highlighting the importance of serving your audience, truly solving their problems, and getting the right exposure in order to grow your business. Louenna does all of those things so well. And as a result, whether or not you're in the childcare industry or just running a business that serves your target audience, this episode is full of really inspiring examples of how to build a trusted, impactful brand online. So I know you'll enjoy this, and I'd love you to join me in welcoming Louenna Hood to the podcast today. Hello, Louenna. Welcome to the podcast. It's so lovely to have you here.
Oh, thanks so much for inviting me.
You're very welcome. Your app has helped me on many a day where our routine has gone out the window and I've had to come back to the routines that you have set with both of my kids. And I am extremely grateful for everything that you share. So could you just start by kind of telling us where you started, really? Because obviously you didn't start with an app, and it kind of has evolved as you've gone along. So if you can just give us an outline of how you got started in nannying.
Yeah, in childcare and nannying. Well, I mean, yeah, the app is a very recent thing, and I have been a nanny for 20 years. So sort of did my apprenticeship before I sort of became the expert, I guess. I'm the oldest of 4 children. My grandmother ran a nursery. My mum and dad both love kids, and I think it's just completely within me. When I was a child, I just adored children. It was just my passion. So I always knew that I wanted to be a nanny, not a teacher, because I think I love, the whole thing from start to finish in the day. I love the caring, I guess, side rather than the teaching side for children. So after I did my A-levels, I went to the Norland Nanny school in Bath and wore their lovely uniform, and
that's like proper Mary Poppins stuff, isn't it?
Yeah, no, it really is. And I had a great time, loved it down there, met my lifelong friends. So the training's quite hard, quite intense, and I just absolutely loved it. I loved all the practical side of it. And then went straight into being a full-time nanny, and worked for people, families in London, and long-term families is what I would say, for the first kind of 8 years of being a nanny. And you just learn so much. I think, like anything in life, you can do all the practical, you can do all the theory, but
Yeah.
actually you learn so much on the job. I definitely took positions where I wasn't just coming in at kind of 9 till 5. I
Yeah.
was definitely taking the kind of bigger roles where parents traveled a lot, and it was quite intense. And I think that, I guess, I became a career nanny, and that I
Yeah.
really gave up a lot of my life, and I would just put everything into it because I loved it, because it was my passion. Um, and then I worked for a family for a long time, and I got very, very attached to the children. And when they went to school and I left them, it was really, really hard. And I thought, you know what, I can't do this again. I need to go into temp work and maternity nursing, where I know that I'll be with these children for block amounts of time, but then I will be leaving. And so, yeah, so I started being a maternity nurse, and I just got very, very busy just through word of mouth, and got passed around lots of lovely friends, and friends of friends. And then, so about 6 years ago, I set up an Instagram page and called it Nanny Louenna. Posted one thing a day, a piece of advice, a product that I liked, and my following just grew very quickly. And that is kind of the catalyst, really, of where the app sprung from.
That's
Um,
amazing.
yeah, and I
That's
think
amazing. So it's so organic.
very organic, very, very, yeah. And um my Instagram page was just, it got a bit crazy in the fact that at one point I was getting over 200 messages every single day from parents just saying, what would you do? My child's got this, my baby does this, so and so's got chicken pox, how would you deal with that? And oh my gosh, it was just crazy. And I was obviously still working full time, had a very high profile job at the time. And then people kept saying to me, you need to write a book. So I was like, okay. So
Yeah.
I brought the writing tool to write a book, and I started writing it. And then I was like, but this isn't what people want. People want the videos, the demonstrations, they want the quick snippets of advice. And also,
Yes.
reading a book cover to cover, you forget.
Yeah.
You want, when you're a parent, you want the instant piece of advice. My baby is doing this right now. How do I
Can I
solve it?
search it? Is the accessibility, isn't it? Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. At 3 a.m., you do not want to be scrolling through a book to find the
Yeah.
right chapter.
No, and I think you also don't want to be reading tons of text. When you're
Yeah.
frazzled, people don't read, and even they think
No,
they're reading and they're not taking anything in. Whereas if you can watch a 30-second video, I think that's really where the Instagram was good. And also, I think hearing me, I think, I'm qualified, I've got the experience. When you think that you know someone, or you could talk to someone, you get an idea for who they are rather than just reading their text. You don't really know who you're reading from.
absolutely.
And I can remember it was 4 years ago. I was I had a baby, Arthur, he's now 4. He was a newborn, and it was in the middle of the night, and I just thought, I need to put this text that I'm writing for this book into an app.
Oh,
And
really? So it was a night feed that
yeah,
where the inspiration came. Those night
yeah,
feeds are responsible for so much.
exactly. Yeah. And
Oh,
then so it
wow.
all sort of snowballed from there, really. And yeah, here we are 4 years later, and I can't believe it.
That's amazing. And that's so true when you say about, people want to know who they're hearing from. It's that
Yeah,
know, like, and trust thing, isn't it? Where you're kind of building your brand online, they're
yeah,
starting to trust you, and then they've literally got you on their phone in their pocket. That's
yeah,
amazing. So how
yeah.
did the app development happen? Because that's not something that is easy for someone to do who doesn't know what they're doing.
Yeah, and I didn't know what I was doing. Had this idea for an app. So the first thing I did was, look around to see if there was another app like this out there. And surprisingly to me, there was nothing,
No.
literally nothing. There are some weaning apps, or there are timers and feeders, and, feeding timers
Yeah.
ones, or, there's, um, but there was nothing that I wanted to do, where I basically wanted people to be able to know what I would do in every single situation without me being physically with them as their nanny.
Amazing.
Um,
Yeah.
And so yeah, I searched for that, couldn't find it, and then I set up a company. Never done that before. And I basically, one afternoon, I had a day off. I can remember I was sitting at my kitchen table and I Googled top 10 app developers in the world. That was my Google search. So obviously all these, names and people were coming up, and I just sat there all afternoon ringing people, and I just kept picking up the phone, and I gave them all exactly the same brief. And that afternoon, I was quoted for exactly the same app. I was quoted everything from 15,000 to 350,000.
Right.
And I went to meet three guys. They were all guys that I'd spoken to, and one of them was actually recommended to me by a friend. I put a thing out on Instagram saying, "Does anyone know of any app developers?"
Perfect.
Friend of a friend of a friend said, "Yes, I do." And went to meet Nico in London, and we had a good chat. He seemed to really get what I wanted.
Yeah.
He was kind of middle of the road expense wise. And so yeah, so we
Wow.
yeah, we had to make a prototype. I then had to raise money, obviously. And it's all just been a massive learning curve because I am not business minded.
Are you tech minded at all?
Not at all, no.
Not at all.
Not at all. I mean,
Wow.
I've learned a lot, but
Journey.
yeah.
That's incredible. And you've had quite a lot of national press, haven't you? With, you've been in the Daily Mail, you've been in Closer magazine. How did that come about, and how did you get that, and then how did that benefit your business? Have you found that's been a good...
Again, it's all about building a brand, getting yourself
Mhm.
out there. When I very first launched the app, I went to a PR company and I paid for 2 weeks worth of their paid kind of PR work, and they got me into some good national press and things. And then since then, I think because particularly the Daily Mail, they've come back to me several times. They sort of have my name now. So that's all been organic since then. But initially, yes, I did pay a PR company to do some work for me, and I think it was really worth it. It creates some hype. Again, I think if people search for you on Google, different articles will come up. It just validates you and your business.
Yeah, it's that social proof, isn't it? And as you say, that validation. And it must do a really good job of just expanding your reach in terms, because obviously your reach on Facebook, I mean, you've got an incredible following on Facebook. I think it's 60,000 at the moment, somewhere around that.
Instagram, I'm on about 64,000.
But obviously that is a limitation, whereas when you get international press, it kind of scales even more, doesn't it?
Definitely.
So
and
that's
it just
really
gets people
interesting.
talking, I think. And I don't think it goes to instant more, so I don't think it sorry, my thing's falling down.
That's okay.
I don't think it necessarily got me, maybe hundreds, but not thousands more Instagram downloads, but it definitely, creates just chat and interest. Exactly.
And speaking of which, you've also worked quite closely with a fair few influencers. Now, I know that Izzy Judd, Millie McIntosh, Louisa Zisman, all use your app, which are, incredible testimonials for you. So has that come through your nannying, or is that, have you approached them? How has that sort of worked?
So half and half. So obviously the best ones are the organic ones. So I actually worked for Louisa Zisman as her maternity nurse for a while. So she's, incredibly generous and kind and talks about me and the app. And I think people really buy into Louisa because they know that she tells you how it is.
Absolutely.
She's I think other influencers maybe you can tell that it's a paid ad, whereas Louisa will only say she likes something if she likes it. So for me, that's amazing, and I'm very grateful to her for talking about me. She doesn't have to tell people that she's had a nanny, but she does. It's really funny. I've paid, well, in the early days of starting the app, I paid a couple of influencers to it's a paid ad to talk about the app. But obviously I made sure that they actually did have the app and actually did like the app. I think that's really important. I learned early on there was one influencer who talked about the app, and I could tell she wasn't, it was a paid
You
ad,
hadn't used it.
and
Yeah.
we got nothing back from it really, which was a
Yeah.
big
Oh, that's a
lesson
shame.
learned for me. But Millie McIntosh was amazing. I got you get a lot more followers, I guess, and then people again start looking at who you are, and then will probably buy the app. So yeah,
Yeah,
it's
absolutely. Again, it goes back to that social proof and that validation, doesn't it? So that's
yeah.
interesting that you've done both sides. You've done the paid ads and you've had organic
Yeah, I mean,
testimonials from.
Lydia Bright was another
Yeah.
one who I had no idea that she even followed me. And then I was
Oh
at work
wow.
one day, and suddenly my phone was just going bonkers with thousands of new followers. And she, again, very, very kindly, when her little girl was a baby, said that she'd been really struggling, and that my routines had really helped her.
Yeah.
So yeah, forever
Well,
grateful for those
I mean,
ones.
those people that haven't used it and just took the money for the paid ad, I can confirm that they are missing out because the value that you provide on there is incredible. And just, for
Yeah.
listeners who haven't used it and perhaps are in the market for it, there is everything on there, isn't there? There is, meal ideas, routines, things about illnesses and ailments. And what else is on there that has been useful for people that
People
you
love
think
the
is most popular?
activities. I
Yes.
think because they're in the age and stage order. I mean, the weaning, the step-by-step weaning, I really wanted to do it like
Yeah.
day by day. Day one, do this. Day two, I think people love having that kind of security, like I am with them as their nanny. This is what I would do if I was here with you. The
Yeah.
first aid videos were really important to me. It was one of the first things that I reached out to Daisy First Aid and said, would you do me some videos? Because even I need to rewatch things. I do my
Yeah.
first aid obviously as a nanny, but I think you have to keep it refreshed in your mind. So that was a really something I really wanted to be on there for. And I've had,
Yeah.
since the app launched 2.5 years ago, I've had 3 mums message me to say I'm pretty sure that those videos saved my little one's life because I knew what to do, which is just
Oh
incredible,
wow. Yeah, talk about
yeah.
job satisfaction.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Yeah, I mean, it's just about providing that as much value as possible, isn't it? And it,
Yeah,
it really is incredibly
I
valuable
mean,
for new mums with baby brain.
I think my app is actually a really expensive app for apps because it's,
Yeah,
$6.99 a month or $34.99 for a whole year. But as soon as people buy it, I get messages saying, this is way too cheap. You need to be charging a
yeah.
lot more for this. But it's the initial getting people to commit to that, because for an app it's expensive. So that's kind of something that,
So
I've tooled you with a bit.
so your routines that are on there, because I know they're one of the most popular things, right? They're on there for free, is that right? Am I right in saying that?
No, they're not. They were to begin with, but
Right.
now we've put them behind the paywall because I
Oh,
feel
okay.
like, they are the
They are so,
most
yeah, they are so
important bit,
valuable.
valuable bit.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
are. So then how would you say that you kind of encourage people? Is it just about the testimonials and that kind of thing? Is there anything that they can see for free to kind of entice them in?
So when you download the app's free to download. You can sign up, and then you can have a look around the app to see how it works and how it flows, and you can see all the chapters that are there.
Okay, yeah, brilliant.
But to actually read the content, you would then have to subscribe.
Yeah, which is entirely fair enough.
Yeah.
So another thing I want to talk to you about, which we absolutely cannot ignore, is what you've done for the Ukraine appeal. Was that last? It was last year, right?
Yeah, a year ago. Yeah.
So for those who don't follow Louenna, she raised an incredible £190,000 for Ukrainian refugee families. But that wasn't all you did, was it? Can you talk to us about how that started and snowballed? Because I was absolutely addicted to your stories whilst that was going on. I was showing all my family. I couldn't stop watching it. So
Oh,
can you talk us through that?
okay. So, completely unplanned, and snowball is definitely the right word. Obviously the war broke out in Ukraine. We were all watching it at home, couldn't believe our eyes. You know, it's just inconceivable that this would happen,
Yeah,
kind of
yeah.
thing. About 2 days, 3 days, I think it was a Sunday after the war broke out. My friend who lives in England but is Polish was chatting to me saying, in my hometown, my cousin is over there and my family, and they had 60 people, women and children, walked into their town today. They have nothing, literally what they're carrying. The babies had nappy rash. They haven't been able to change them because they hadn't been able to bring nappies with them. She was sending me photographs of her cousin who had housed 5 of them. There was a baby asleep on a wooden floor, just absolutely conked out. And, you know, these people don't have money themselves to then take on a whole nother family. And she said, oh, it's just, you know, inconceivable. And they were expecting lots more people to come through over the coming days. So I was like, look, I can definitely help with just some initial aid, you know, with some food, with nappies, wipes, just essentials for babies and children. It was also freezing cold. They hadn't been able to bring layers or clothes with them, changes of clothes. So I genuinely in my head envisaged that I was going to be boxing up 3 or 4 big boxes. I thought I would drive up to the post office and because I had an address to send them to, I knew that they would get there within a few days and we could help just these few families. So it was a Sunday. That is not what happened. Yeah, it was a Sunday. I put a little post up on my Instagram saying, hi guys, you know, I know where there are some refugees have you know, arrived in Poland. They're babies and children. If anyone would like to donate any nappies or clothes or baby food, let me know, drop them off here. I'll put the boxes together and I'll pay for the boxes to be sent over in the next couple of days. Well, within about an hour, I was like, oh, I think this might be a few more boxes. It might be a bit more than a few boxes. So I thought maybe it's a van load that we could drive over. So my friend Philip Judge owns a haulage company. He drives through Europe every week. I knew that it wouldn't be a bother to him. I rang him and I was like, what are the chances of getting like a small van to Poland in the next week? And he was like, yeah, sure, we can do that. So I was like, okay, great. So obviously Sunday there's no post. So on Monday morning at 8 o'clock in the morning, there was a knock at my door and it was a friend, and she bought a huge box of stuff. And then just slowly throughout the day, more and more and more. And by the end of the day, my living room was completely full. And then obviously people have been able to post things on the Monday. So Tuesday came and there was a knock at the door. My postman was stood there and was like, what's going on? And I said, what do you mean what's going on? And he said, this van is all for you. And we have another van coming in a minute. And I was like, oh my gosh. So then I rang Phil and I was like, you know that van? I was like, do you think it could be a container? And it just, honestly, I mean, the response was incredible, and it's still kind of surreal that it all happened by the end of, well, about 3 days later I had 2 marquees on my driveway.
Yes, I saw that. So how many containers worth of, I mean, these are huge, great big lorries, right? We're talking about here.
Huge. I mean,
how
it was
many
the
of them went
biggest
over
lorries. So it was 6 container loads of stuff. Yeah. And then on, I think it was the Tuesday, a couple of people on Instagram messaged and they said, look, we really, really want to help and contribute. We know that your stuff is going directly to the people. It will get there this week. We really want to contribute, but I can't get to the post office. So would I be able to send you some money? So I was like, okay, well, we'll set up a little Just Giving page, and then maybe if we get some money in there, again, I genuinely thought that at the end of the week, just before the container left, I was going to run to Aldi and I was going to buy all their nappies, all their wipes, with whatever we had, and I set the target to £500, and I thought, well, if we can get £500 and put some extra coats and things in there, then great. And I think within about an hour it was at 5,000, and it just
unbelievable watching that go up.
Yeah, I mean, unbelievable. And we were so busy with the stuff that was coming in, that every now and again someone would just shout out the total and I was like, what? And then so I was like, okay, I can't think about that at the moment. Let's just worry about this, getting the stuff there really quickly, because these people need it now. And then everyone
came to help, didn't they? You had like hordes of people on your driveway, I saw, helping.
I mean, thank goodness because I don't know what I would have done. That was the great thing about it. I think I mean, I often joke, I'm like, what if all my friends and family have said, no, sorry, I'm busy this week, I can't come and help? I don't, and it was my neighbors. Well, actually, I woke up one morning and it was about 5:30 in the morning, and there was a man outside and he was just putting up this tent for me because it had been
Oh,
raining. So people had bought horse boxes so we could pack in horse boxes. And this guy was like, I live in Cheltenham. I have this marquee. I'm just
oh.
here. If you don't want it, say no, but I'll just put it up and leave it here for, everybody,
And you had people sending
everything.
you food, didn't you? Food and
Yeah,
drink to keep
yeah.
you going, and
My
it's just
local pub,
unreal.
yeah, Crown Catering, they turned up with food for everybody. It was honestly just so surreal. And because we hadn't planned for it, I
Yeah,
mean, looking back, you would be like, oh, well, if you planned for it. But it was even just getting the rubbish taken away at the end of every day.
yes,
Like, my garden was just piled high. But again, a friend brought his trailer. He was like, I'll deal with this. It's fine.
amazing.
Yeah, it was
Wow, what a sense
amazing.
of community, especially in such
Yeah,
an awful time.
yeah,
And so because of that, am I right in saying you were on the New Year's honours list and you had a medal
yes.
presented from King Charles, and
Well,
also
no,
from the Prime Minister?
that's I did meet the Prime Minister, and went to Downing Street for that was for the
Right.
Points of Light Award. So that's
Yes.
an award for volunteers. Um, that was an amazing day last year, and I haven't got
Incredible.
my BEM medal yet, but that's next week. So
I
very
mean, so you're
exciting.
like, well, no, no, but you are getting an award. Is that I saw that you've been invited to Buckingham Palace. Is that what that's for?
No, that's for the garden party. I've been invited to a Buckingham Palace garden party. So the BEM gets given to me in the Cambridge Cathedral next week, and then I go
Wow.
to the Buckingham Palace garden party. So yeah, it's an
Oh, you've got
exciting
a great
year.
week. Yeah, yeah. Incredible. I mean, and so well deserved. It was just unreal watching that unfold on
Oh, thank
Instagram. So
you.
I can't imagine how it must have been for you.
Just
Um,
totally surreal. Yeah, but
yeah.
no,
So
amazing to look
and
back on.
yeah, and then you went over there to visit. Am I right in saying you went over to there to
Yes.
visit the orphanage?
Yeah, so obviously I couldn't go to Aldi with my £500. I had £190,000 in the Just Giving account. And I think that's really when the pressure kind of hit me. I was like, oh, I'm actually dealing with a lot of money here. And I think the reason that people were sending me the money is because they thought that I would be going to Tesco's,
Yeah.
Aldi, buying the stuff, putting it on the trucks and getting it straight to the people. A lot of comments were that if you give it to some charities, it takes a long time to get through the system. You're not quite sure where it's going. And I think, again, the power of social media. I was
Yes.
documenting. I had there was so my friend's cousin who was in Poland. I was FaceTiming her every day. She was telling me what they needed. We ended up working with an orphanage in Poland that she put me in touch with, but I could document all that. So literally, people were seeing their stuff arriving at my house. They were
Yeah.
being packed into the right boxes. They saw it loaded. They saw it driving across,
Yeah.
on the boat, and they saw it arriving. So with this money, I was sort of like, oh my gosh, where do I start? Where do I send it? I can't just send
You've
money
got
to
to spend it in
people.
the right way, and
Yeah. So Louisa Zisman, who I worked for,
yeah.
she has amazing contacts in Moldova. And obviously they are right on the border as well. So they had an even bigger problem really with refugees because Moldova is a very, very poor country. I think they doubled the amount of people that were in the country,
Oh wow.
through this. Yeah. So she said, look, if you want some help in where to spend this, we can go over there. She knew a diplomat over there. And so we spent, it was like a 5-day whirlwind tour, but I wanted to meet the people. I wanted to
Yeah.
know where the money was going. We ended up going to the embassy in Moldova and the Ukrainian embassy there, and they are just incredible what they're doing. And so I knew that the money was going to the right place.
Yeah. And to be
We
able to
also,
show again people at home who have
yeah,
donated that this
yeah,
is where your money is going
yeah,
and this is how bad it is as well.
yeah. Oh my
This is why they
gosh.
need the money was incredible
Um,
and incredibly emotional to watch.
yes, no, it was heartbreaking, but I think it's probably the biggest privilege
Yeah.
going and seeing, and it becomes a reality. It's not just something that's on the news. These
Yeah.
are real people just like you and I who had homes, who literally overnight had to pack what they could carry in their hands, and they walked.
Unreal.
It was unreal to see,
Yeah.
to meet the people. But you know, we met some amazing families. We helped directly with some families, and yeah, the money was split how I thought, where it was going to the best causes. But yeah, it was an amazing experience.
You've gone from helping children in one way your entire career to a completely another level, haven't you? That's just the most incredible story. And it was just,
Yeah.
I mean, you say it was a privilege for you to go and do it. It was a privilege to watch as well, and to be able to donate and have somewhere for that to go. Just absolutely amazing.
Yeah,
So inspiring. And you know, I know like social media gets such a bad reputation, doesn't it? And that is just such a wonderful story of how amazing it can really be.
Yeah.
And
without social media, it would never have happened.
No, absolutely no. And I think, you know, hopefully that kind of rights some of the wrongs that it does every now and then.
Yeah, absolutely.
So kind of back to your business, and so you also have a nanny agency, is that right? And a consultancy service. So can you talk us through, we'll move away from the charity stuff now and back to how does all that work? What does that provide? What services is it you're providing with those?
So the agency is it's a nanny agency, but I hope it's an agency with a difference, because, you know, being a nanny myself, I used to use agencies a while ago. I don't want to be an agency where we just sort of match the family and the nanny together and then that's it. I really want to be there for the girls as a mentor. I want to inspire them if I can. You know, I want to create a community between the girls so they can meet each other. And I mean, I just think that nannying is a really, really important job. You are, you know, you become part of someone's childhood. And if you get it right, it's, you know, you can have a major part to play in someone's childhood, which is, you know, huge. I also think people don't realize how sort of exhausting nannying can be. It's really long hours. It can be a really tough job sometimes.
You're giving up a lot of your own life as well for that, aren't you? So that must be something that only really you guys understand.
Yeah, definitely. And you know, all nanny jobs are different. Some you very much just go in, do a job and you leave again, but others you very much give up your life for it. And I feel like I think it's the best job in the world. You know, I think it's again the biggest privilege. I absolutely love it. But I do know from experience that, you know, the more you put in, the more you will get back. And I really want to inspire the girls, you know, who come through our agency to be like that, because, you know, if they're putting lots into their job, you're going to ultimately have a happier child, which is what everybody wants. So and that's the agency.
Parents as well.
Yeah. And exactly, happier parents and just a happier home life.
Definitely.
So that's the agency. We do everything from just, you know, we'll place nannies. We have temp nannies, so you might need someone just for a day or to cover for a week, or we do full-time nannies up to rota nannies, overseas nannies, everything. But it's relatively new. We've only been going for 6 months, but we are, you know, really busy, so that's good.
Wow, yeah. And has that come off of the back of so you're running the app, you're running the agency, you have a consultancy service. Are you doing this all yourself? Do you have a team that are working with you?
I have
you Superwoman?
I don't sleep very much, no. I have got 2 amazing ladies who work for me, Alex and Janie. You know, I couldn't do it without them. They're absolutely brilliant. They're both nannies themselves. You know, they've done it all. We were friends before this came around. I, you know, completely trust them. We've all got the same ideas. So Janie very much runs the agency with me, and Alex sort of helps with the app and everything else, and the consultancy. And so the 3 of us work every day together.
I mean, still just a team of 3. That's an amazing undertaking. And who does all your social media? Who comes up with all your content ideas? Because you're posting every day, right?
Yeah, that's all me, and that is my biggest. It's huge. People have no idea how long it takes, how much time it takes. It looks so easy putting these 1-minute videos up, but no, for me that is a huge part of it. But it has to be me, because I am I'm Louenna, I guess. And so that, all the content is me.
Wow. And do you have a process for that, or do you just kind of
wing it? I probably should have more of a process for it. I probably should get a bit better at it. I think maybe social media is kind of the thing I wouldn't say struggle with, but I don't think it comes naturally to me.
You would never know.
Really? Oh, yeah. I guess I'm not one of those people that can wake up in the morning and then just talk to the camera in bed. I feel like it's quite I don't know, it's just very time consuming, I guess, and it's hard to know how much personal stuff to put out. I try not to put too much of my personal stuff out there, although people know, bits about me. Nice. But it's more about, I want to help people. Again, if you don't have the app but you want some snippets of advice, it's there on Instagram, I guess.
And what sort of thing do you find does best for you on social media?
The Q&As are ridiculous. Yes. I mean, honestly, I wish I could answer all of them. There's just no way. I kind of have to siphon my way through, and often there's like 20 people have asked the same question, so I'll pick one and answer that. Definitely get a really good response to the Q&As.
And then do you use those answers, those questions, to then create more content and that kind of thing?
Yeah, totally. And I really use it for the app. So if anybody asks me a question that I can't say while it's on the app, I will add it to the app.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah, that's a really foolproof process.
Yeah.
Excellent. So, I think I know the answer to the next question, but what has been your career highlight?
Oh, I'd love to know what you think my career highlight is.
Well, I was going to assume it was what happened with the Ukraine and that appeal and getting all those awards.
Okay. Do you know what? About 20 things come into my mind when you ask me that question. Yeah. I think all through my career, I think I've met some amazing people. I've seen things that I think, how on earth have I got to be here and do this? So of course the Ukraine thing, yes, that's got to be a massive highlight, but I don't know, there are quite a few things I probably couldn't answer to launching the app. Look, now I'm kind of like, how on earth have I got a business? I'm an
app,
a founder of an app, it's bananas. So lots and lots and lots of career highlights. And you know what, to be honest, probably the children that, one specific family in particular who I'm very close to, it's just a huge privilege to be such a big part of their life.
It definitely comes across how passionate you are about the job and the children and the families, and I think that's what makes you so authentic online and everything. And over and above the qualifications and the education you have in nannying, I think it's the passion that you show for it. And again, that spilled over into the Ukraine appeal and all of that, because you did it because you wanted to help. And I think that's amazing, really amazing.
Thank you.
And what has been your win of the week this week?
Well, actually reaching 39,000 downloads on the app.
Wow.
Whee, that's exciting.
That is something to celebrate. Excellent. I hope you are going out for a glass of something bubbly to celebrate that.
Exactly.
Lovely. So Louenna, tell us where people can find you if they have children and need your app.
So the app is available to download through the App Store, Google Play. You can find me through my website, louenna.com, or Facebook, Instagram, Nanny Louenna.
Excellent. Thank you so much for chatting to me today. That's been really, really inspirational, really, really interesting. I was so excited to be able to share your story today.
Thank you.
What a truly brilliant example of how serving your audience and helping them solve real problems within your content and your products and services can build a brand that people love and trust. I personally am so grateful for all of the help Louenna has given me with my two girls. Her knowledge and her willingness to share is just invaluable. Louenna is really amazing at what she does, and her passion for helping parents through their parenting journey is what has catapulted her brand online. I find it so inspiring to see real life examples like this, which is exactly why I wanted to share her story with you. Thank you so much for listening to another episode of What If It All Works Out today. Don't forget to subscribe or follow wherever you listen to your podcast so you don't miss anything. I'm your host, Sophie Callahan, and I will see you next week for another episode with another amazing guest.